Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach Pod, Crowy and Cam here, talking about taking back Sunday, taking back control, part 3. Exciting times. Now, this is huge because, if you've listened to part 1, we were talking about taking a time audit of your time. So for 2 weeks, referencing within 15 to 30 minute increments, what are you doing? And that's confronting enough in itself, right? But part 2 was just basically before you do that, making sure that you are up to scratch, that, you don't have any dramatic major items to catch up on. You're not critically behind on invoicing, not critically behind on, a day's worth of quoting or 3 days worth of something, whatever. So making sure you're all level, like a level playing field there. And part number 3 here is, what do you do with that information? So it's super interesting, right? Let's say you've time audited a really, really clean 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever.
Give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah, go get yourself some form of latte, right?
Go to Ham and get a 4-cheese toasty.
The 4-cheese toasty. I would actually really enjoy that right now. Right, the timestamp this, it's like almost 11 a.m. and I'm moving into lunchtime. And it's so funny still being on the tradie body clock. Sometimes I'll give the kids lunch and Elle's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's 11, it's lunchtime. She's like, no, lunchtime's 1. I'm like, no, it's not. Lunchtime's 11. We're at it. This is the time it is. So yeah. It's so funny. The body clock has remained. The office stuff has increased and the body clock eating lunch at 11 has remained. It's super cool. And now you've done your 2 weeks. Chances are, I'm going to say, you've learned a lot. If you've ordered 2 weeks of your time, you would have learned so much. And also from that, you want to work out of the 2 weeks, what are you doing? Like if you're in the beast meter, as we call it, you need to know what sort of billable resource you are. So you're 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, 1 day a week, hopefully not a 5-day week, because that's going to be really difficult to grow a business when you're just like in the business all the time. So, what are you and have you stuck to that? So a lot of times you see people meant to be in the office 20 hours, 24 hours, 30 hours, whatever, and they're not hitting that time. Sweet, that's a hiring indicator. If you're getting pulled out on the tools all the time, or it doesn't have to be a hiring indicator, it can be like, why do you have to go to site every single morning to start people? Can you not do that from FaceTime? Can you not do that from your job notes? Like, what part of your process is drawing you out so you have to be involved in everything? There's a point of letting your tradies make decisions that are okay, that you have to be okay with. Could you have made a better decision? Yes. But like if you're consistently micromanaging them, they might never get to the point where they can make better decisions. Now on this, how do you train that? If you're still going out the site, I would be like, hey, what do you think we should do here? No, I'll do this, this, and this. Cool. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about this way? Sometimes they have better ideas than you, let's face it. And other times they have diabolical ideas. There's like not even a train wreck would be a polite way to say that. I remember this guy we were putting up tray at this massive high-end resi job we were doing. Beautiful job, like maybe it'd be worth maybe 20 million now. Maybe there was like a 10 mil-ish build. So like big job, right? Going into that, this guy was putting 600 tray up. And I was like, why is it taking so long? And he was trying to get like every bit of rod like through the perforated tray. And I'm like, would you not just run Unistrut like wider than the tray and just swing it and put it up there and do it? He's like, oh, that's a heaps good idea. So I came back, luckily. I came back after, I think it was a day and a half of him doing this tray. He'd done literally, I'm going to say 4 lengths, and you'd usually be expecting at that point, I'm expecting most of the tray to be done. And yeah. I just didn't think anyone could be that stupid. That would be like, that's a dumb idea, right? And you're never going to get that correct measuring that. Anyone that's done cable tray will be like, what the hell was this guy doing, right? So it's super interesting to talk about. And I was like, well, that's like, lucky I caught that. So in saying that, you can't just not manage at all. You can't micromanage, and you can't not manage at all. So there's a middle ground you've got to operate in, where you want to let people come up with ideas and make decisions, but maybe guide those decisions. You can't just be completely out of it unless you've got a weapon tradie. Shout out to the weapon tradies and weapon admins that make your life easier. How much do you reckon the weapons are? Are they one in, like, they're weapons, the weapon people on site?
Probably one in 10 to 15, I reckon.
Yeah,
probably.
I was even going to say more. I'd say the absolute godsend weapons are probably, maybe one in 30, one in
Yeah.
40. But so anyway, what I'm trying to say is, you've got one of those people, you need
Yeah.
to treat them well, because their return on investment is huge. You're paying them probably not too dissimilar to the other people, and what they're returning is absolutely huge. So shout out to running a team of weapons that can sort of self-manage and self-learn and guide themselves into greener pastures. And shout out to like, what part of your management process can be a written document, and what part needs to be site visit. So if you're walking around at the end of every single rough-in and ticking off a plan and making sure, is that bench PowerPoint at 1100? Is that weatherproof one at 300? Is this at this? Like, if you're doing that personally, like quality controlling, maybe you can become a document in the nicest way possible.
Yep.
And then that document can be given to the people and they sign off on it. It's so beautiful when your head gets put into a document, like, here's what I want to happen. Everything must come out of timber, insert 100 items here, right? When your head gets put into a document, and that document can now be omnipresent across multiple jobs at multiple times, across like year in, year out. This document never takes annual leave. It never takes personal leave. It doesn't have better things to do. It just exists. That's sort of a process in a nutshell, that this item, this document, can do its job forever. It's as good as a person. In fact, it's better than a person, because it doesn't make mistakes, because it's if you've followed it, you'll be okay. That's a process in a nutshell. That's exactly what you sort of want it to be. And I think the word process gets sort of thrown around and used, and driven behind a car and stuff like that. It's like, it doesn't have to be so complicated. It's like, this is what a cost plus invoice looks like. This is what a progress claim looks like. This is what a schedule should look like. This is what a healthy office time should look like. Like, that's a process. Don't sugarcoat it and don't downplay it, but don't honor it like you need to pay someone to give you a process. Like, that's so cooked. Anyway, can't remember what I was actually saying, but what I was actually saying was, who's doing what, and can you hand it over? Can you be a process, or do you have to be in all these places? What part is part of your dream week, going back to week one, and what part is part of no one's dream week? It's like, it's not a dream. This is actually a disaster zone. Are you able to fulfill your hour cup, what you're required in the calculator to fulfill? Because there is a fulfillment, whether you know it or not, or whether you've got capital in your business, or you pull yourself back off the tools or not. You can do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't mean you're profitable. That's exactly right. So you hear all these gurus talking and stuff, and it's like, the reality is, you can do whatever you want, but it doesn't mean you're going to run a successful and profitable business. So I can be at the beach right now. It doesn't mean my business is going to grow and thrive. Like, it's super interesting. Anyway, where's your head go to?
Mine looks at, so the reflecting of it, you've given yourself a bit of a timestamp of 2 weeks and what you got up to. I think having a look at it and seeing how you performed and where you spent your time is super valuable to understand a lot of the probably manicness, chaos, what I insert, descriptive wild card here, is that you probably you're the maker of it. It's a doing of you. I reckon, if I'm going to summarize it as a whole, you'll be probably surprised to a point of like, oh, geez, that was pretty pretty wild all over the place looking at the day. Let's just take a snapshot of a day, and you're the maker of it. And it could be because you say yes to everything. And so just reference here that I'm a massive fan of saying yes and figuring out later. And I think the key point here is figuring out later. It's not say yes, do now. It's say yes, figure out later. So having a look at it, what you've come up with, and where's it, is there a rhythm to it, or is it just like a little bit of some really high peaks and really low valleys? And what happens is like the good intention of, hey, I need to do this is taken away from, I'll do this instead. And I think here is where you need to have a look at, is like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, yes, that's become an urgent issue. And I think that's the common scenario everyone gets thrown. Is like, oh, I had this pop up, or I had this occur, or I had this happen. Fully aware that urgent issues arise, or an emergency or something like that. I think you need to have a look at it and be like, okay, cool. Do I actually need to then solve everything? Are you actually the dam in your business? And I reckon if you critically assessed it, you're like, oh, maybe I am. So let's reference the tradies on site. Touch base with one of our members recently, and he's like, you know what? I just told the tradies that they just need to figure this one out. So it was a point of attachment with Energex. They just need to deal with it. I'm not going to go to site on this. And now I want to reference here that if he went to site, day gone. By the time he traveled to it, because it was about an hour and a half or so from his base, like office base, be on site, and then it's probably going to be an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more with the traffic in the afternoon and the way back. So day cooked, right? Whereas he didn't go, and there was no problem. The job got done. I think it was like one phone call or anything like that. So you got to put a bit of faith and a bit of trust in your team. So reference back to when you started out, when you were a younger tradie in your time, like how many mistakes did you make? Like you're always going to make a mistake. It's as long as you learn from that mistake and you don't make the same mistake 10 times. And also, I think there's a mistake that is everyone needs to know about this mistake. And then there's a mistake that we're just going to get it fixed, right? And what I mean by that is that we bought the wrong light fitting. Like, yeah, it's a mistake, but you can get that fixed. Like, how do you go about that? You don't need to broadcast that to the world. Am I going to know about it as a business owner? Yeah, because I look at the invoices and see that the wrong light fitting was ordered. But if I look at the time, it's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. A big mistake is we disconnected the wrong house. We put the switchboard in at the wrong street the right street in the wrong suburb. Don't laugh, it's happened. So I think understanding like the micromanagement side of it all is, do you really need to? So empowering your team. That email that's come in, it's like forward it to the person who needs to deal with it, right? So empower the team, get them on board with you. If you've got your admin support, send them all the admin. It's like, so all the credit notes, all the invoices, send it to them, because you don't want to be the person who is like the overarching lord. Because have a think about, I'm sure you've all been there, when you've worked probably somewhere and you feel like you're always being watched, or like having like this shadow cast over you. It's uncomfortable. It's not nice. And it's sort of, I'm going to go as far to say potentially undermining, which then can lead to greater issues. So having a look at the reflection of what your week is telling you. Are you micromanaging? Do you need to improve the use of some of the software that you have? Do you need to just pass on? So think of you as the halfback. You are the most the most important part of the team and the most well-paid player on the team, but you don't get paid to make the tackles and do the hit-ups. You pass on and you create. Right? So think of yourself as, how do I pass on and create to other people? I really like that analogy. I just made that up on the spot.
It's a great analogy.
So how do I do that? What is the week telling me that I can do better, or I can make things within my business better? So it revolves less around me in the sense of I don't need to be doing everything and spending all my time on things.
Yeah, and I think as well, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't
Mm.
put too much thought into it. If it is going to matter in 5 years, put a lot of thought into it, but act swiftly and quickly. Great example of not going to matter in 5 years. You got a good client or a great client or excellent client, and if you're growing the business, you would have serviced them, and now you're going to pull yourself back from servicing, and someone else does it. That can feel incredible. If you're in that moment, it can be a little bit like ripping a band-aid off. So I'm not doing it. It's too painful. It's too painful. You know, but in 5 years, like you would have passed the torch maybe 2 or 3 times by that. As long as the product remains good, the client's cared for, the handover's smooth. It's not just a cold cut and drop, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you got to make it smoother and make it smooth. But the reality of you just doing everyone's work forever is very impossible, or a certain client's work forever. So how do you sort of take that step? And it is, I'm not discounting it. It is a big deal. It does feel big, but maybe you need to start and finish people. There's areas where you go like, hey, I'm doing all that client's work, and I need to get myself out of that. And I got to get Jimmy to go and do it, right? Jimmy gets a bit of a hard route sometimes. So Jimmy's a weapon tradie in this case. So I'm a bit scared about Jimmy knowing everything and seeing the clients, this kind of stuff. So I'm going to set Jimmy up for 30, 45 minutes. And then I'm going to check in the afternoon and make sure he's on the right track. Because as much as you don't want to micromanage, you do want quality control, and you do need speed. You need an element of like, hey, I've allowed this, and you can't delve outside that time, then we're losing money. So there's an element of like double handling that's good, element of double handling that's micromanaging. You got to work out the rhythm there. But my biggest encouragement is like, try and work out, like if that's the biggest issue right now, you handing over a client or a certain, maybe a quoting or a certain admin, it's not that big a deal in 5 years' time. So when you stop and have a coffee and reflect for an hour, you'd be like, oh yeah, I don't know why I was making that such a big deal. I'm not the most important person on earth. You don't really, long term, you don't really want to be the halfback. You want to be the coach. So long term, you can't be central to everything forever, but you will be central to things, and you work out, what am I central to, and how can I remove myself from that, and let's say you stay the halfback. You can't score. Like usually the centers and the wingers are scoring. Other people on the team are scoring, right? So you're just setting them up for success. They look good because you were good. That's sort of what you want to sort of go through. I would say, and my sort of closing pitch is that you've worked out, 2 pods ago, you've worked out what your dream week looks like. This is in an ideal setting. This is my perfect draft week. I exercise. I've got invoices in here, quoting in here, this in here, this in here. I've got school drop off or hat parade on this day. Cool, whatever. Just putting your absolute dream week. And then what's your actual week look like? So it's like, chances are they're a little bit chalk and cheese, right? They're a little bit like, this is the chalk and here is the cheese, or this is what I want and this is what's happening. And that's life in a nutshell. Here's what I want, but here's what's currently happening. So our goal, your goal, is to stand in the gap. So where are you and what needs to be happening? So where are you currently, and what's your desire or what's your dream? And what's in the gap? And there's a tension there. There'll be a tension there of things to do. So what do I need to do to take my actual to my dream? And that's a business 101 right there. So where am I at? Where am I going to get to? What's in the way? Where am I at in the schedule? Where do I want to get to? What's in the way? And sometimes it's purchase orders. Sometimes it's the wrong staff members. Sometimes it's the wrong clients. Sometimes it's the right clients and right staff. They just haven't gelled in yet, right? Sometimes there's a bit of TLC from you. So a bit of a pathway, like this is what's in the way. I've got to do this. This is going to require this of me, a bit of sweat for a certain portion of time. I'm happy to do that because I'm on my way to the dream week. So work out where you're at, where you want to get to, what's in the way. And if you did one thing a week, congratulations, you've just done 52 things by the end of the year. Amazing times. It's my wrap.
I like it. I think, like you touched on there, my brief, I guess, summarization of it all, or snapshot around, is that, there's a few things that you're going to have to do to make some change. So just start, right? So give yourself a pat on the back to begin with, to recognize it, get the steps in place to clear the backlog, and then start moving forward from there and work on the little bits and pieces to get to that ideal week, lifestyle, whatever you sort of envisage from the get-go, whatever you want it to look like. Jump in there and go for it.
Yeah, I would actually stop this podcast right now and put on a 2-pack changes and watch the world become a better place. Exciting. All right.
Love
See
it.
you guys.
Take
Bye.
care.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.